So a lot of good news this tonight. Anybody else have any good news to share with the group?
We like to celebrate with you. I know Anna's going to be doing something special this summer because she asked me about it. Anna, tell them what you've been asked to do this summer.
In Gaston County Schools, we have a program that goes along with our county commissioners. It's called the Commissioner School of Excellence, and it's a 2-week program for rising 10th graders. They're currently 9th graders. They'll be in 10th grade, and it's a 2-week camp that they are selected to attend based on excellence in school. And the 2 directors approached me a couple weeks ago and asked me if I would be willing to be a teacher leader for those 2 weeks. So I'm really excited about that.
And I wanted Anna to say that because we want to hear about the good things, but I wanted you to know too, these opportunities open the doors for bigger opportunities. This is an opportunity. They've already seen something in Anna, or they would have never asked her. So what's going to happen? Their eyes are going to be on Anna this summer. So this is going to give her an opportunity to really shine, and who knows what the next step's going to be. They've already got their eyes on her. So I wanted to tell you, take advantage of opportunities.
Thank you.
Put yourself out there, all of you. Okay. Dr. Revis, let me share my screen and pull this up. I want them to see basically what our plans are for. There it is. Can you see it? Can you see that?
No.
Okay, let me go back out. Okay, let me try again. Share screen.
I know that most school districts are going to be having summer schools this summer.
Right.
So guys, even though, who wants to work in the summer, but go ahead and put yourself out there, because the experience that you get, not only the experience, but other people see you in that leadership role and they start visualizing you as being in charge, and it will open doors for you.
It will. I lost it, so I'm going to have to go back to it.
Now we can see your screen now.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I clicked on it. I have my agenda already up and ready, but anyway, it left me. There we go. Okay. We've already said welcome and those things like that. So welcome again, everybody. Want to talk briefly about the work that you've done up to this point. Dr. Revis, would you like to just begin with, and some of them may not have heard, just very, very briefly, those that came in, I know they want to know about your husband. So if you would say that again.
Okay, well, once again, I apologize for not being here with you last week, and it was a tough day. Anyway, the good news is that my husband is getting ready to be discharged, hopefully tomorrow, and they were able to do a successful procedure yesterday that I think will help his heart health immensely, and we are just praising God, and thank you for all of your prayers, your messages, your emails. That does mean a lot. The hospital is still a lonely place. Even though he was having that surgical procedure yesterday, I couldn't have anybody with me. I had to be out in the parking lot. So it's always nice to know that you're surrounded by those wonderful thoughts and prayers of encouragement. So thank you, guys. I appreciate it a lot.
We're thankful for that. And Dr. Revis, if you would go ahead and talk about, just very briefly, I want us to talk about, this is
our Zoom team assignment.
Zoom team assignments. Yes.
Well, I was just blown away by the Zoom team discussion this time. You guys really did a good job by bringing in the researchers and talking about the information that you had pulled from your research. And it really was a true scholarly discussion. And you've learned so much. Many of you shared, how much you've learned just by doing the research, particularly I think for this app tool. It's so applicable to what we do in schools every day as far as school improvement and as far as teacher development, morale, those kinds of things. So I was just very pleased with the scholarly discussions that I heard from my groups on the app tool.
And I ditto to everything that you've said. I really great leadership, very well prepared with agendas, followed the agendas, kept everybody on task as the leaders did. But that really wasn't a hard job, because the students just really do a great job being prepared and come in. And overall, I was very, very pleased with it. I could see a lot of growth, even from the last time as you participated in this activity. So great job.
Yes, a lot of growth.
Let's talk about task 2 that has, kind of where they are with that.
Well, again, I was pleased. This is a little bit different type of writing, I think, where you are reporting outcomes of your survey. And so, we want to be specific when you report the outcomes of a survey. And I had to ask some of you to go back and, instead of saying most of the teachers or only a few of the teachers, go ahead and report those percentages so that, the reader can really understand what you're talking about. So a little bit different type of writing in reporting out the results of your survey and of your walkthroughs. But most of you did a great job of pulling back in that research and identifying gaps. And I really get excited when I look at the AAPTEL, because this is what you're going to do as a principal in the school.
Right.
And you're going to look at that teacher leadership, and what the research says. And after you look at your North Carolina Teacher Working Conditions Survey or other staff surveys, if you have them, you're going to be able to know how to move in the appropriate direction. So I was very pleased with the first drafts. Most people needed to do a little bit of tweaking, but not big things. And so I do expect those to come back in very, very quickly.
Yeah, and I've still got a little bit out there, but overall, it's well, I mean, all of them have turned task 2 in and have done a great job on that. Tweaking what needs to be fixed. Do not discredit the peer reviews. I have taken the time to look at the peer reviews. The peer reviews that most of the peer reviews that you're getting, that honestly, if you will follow that peer review, it will take you to the next level, because you're taking enough time to point out things that Dr. Revis and I don't, because we're not going to do that. That's part of the learning process for you, but you're doing that. So do not discredit peer reviews. Peer reviews can make a difference. And overall, the peer reviews are, have been very, very good, Dr. Revis. I think
Yes.
so. Don't discredit
Yes,
that.
very, very thorough. And I will tell you this, at this point in the course, I stopped correcting APA, and I stopped correcting grammar and those kinds of things. And that's what you can really pick up with from your peer reviews. So I do think the peer reviews add a lot of information and depth. And I would make a suggestion that I think would make it easier for all of us if we would number our pages in our tasks when we turn them in. I think it would be easier for us to say, Mary, on page 12, look at that second paragraph. So if you would please consider going ahead and start numbering your pages, makes it easier for all of us when giving feedback.
I contemplated, Dr. Revis, I pulled up the helpful hints document and I looked at that, and then I went back to what was presented during a few weeks ago, week 8, I think it was, when we were giving just a complete overview of the AAPTEL. And I felt like that at this stage that it was appropriate to come back to what I shared at that time. So that's what I'm going to go over. You have this under week 8 in Blackboard. So it's important as you're going into task 3 that you do that. Task 3 is your teacher empowerment leadership growth plan. It's called a growth plan. It's a plan of action based on, remember, we talked about the two things. We talked about what perceived leadership as it within the classroom and perceived leader or the perception of leadership as it was outside the classroom in the school. So that is what I want us to talk about. And I'm not going to go into, to everything, but I think I've had enough questions posed to me this week that I think it's important enough that you realize that what you are doing now is this is pretty much the meat of everything that you're doing, and the presentation that you're going to have to do. It must be a very profound and a very solid information. I was talking with Cherie, I think it was Sunday night we were talking, and I told her that one of the things that I wanted her to do, as we were talking about some things that she was working on, I said, I want you to be professionally assertive. Now, I don't want you to mealy around with things. This is your opportunity to be very professional about it, but you've got to learn how to be professionally assertive. And so when you are presenting this, I thought about this too. All of you, now I grew up with Kool-Aid. Dr. Revis, you did too, because that's all they had back in the day was Kool-Aid. But I can remember that sometimes the Kool-Aid had a strong grape taste to it, or a strong cherry taste to it, or a strong orange taste to it, whatever you had. But then sometimes it wasn't as good. It was watered down. It was like flavored water a little bit, just a little bit. And so, I'm going to compare this to making Kool-Aid. You want a strong glass of Kool-Aid. You want to taste the grape. You want to taste the orange. You want to taste the cherry, whatever the flavor is. You don't want it watered down. Now, you can get up there and you can present something and you will have met the needs, but you want it to be effective. So give them a strong glass of Kool-Aid when you're up there. So once you have successfully completed task 1 and task 2, to include a gap analysis, you will move forward with creating the growth plan, teacher improvement in an identified area or areas of weakness based on the gap analysis that we've talked about. Now, again, you're doing two things. You're looking at what are the identified areas of concern for teacher leadership and empowerment outside that classroom, and you've done that. And then you're looking, what are the identified areas of concern for teacher leadership and empowerment inside the classroom? And you've already, all of that has already been identified in task 2. These are things that you need to consider as you're moving forward this week working on that growth plan. While the plan is a teacher empowerment leadership growth plan, you should consider these. You're looking for gaps in all areas related to teacher empowerment and leadership in your school only. You're looking in your school only. Now, what Cherie and I talked about, Cherie did something that district leaders has been involved in what she's doing, but her work is for her school only. However, when she makes her presentation, she is presenting what she and her team feels like needs to be done for her school. But I've asked her to invite district leaders to this meeting as well, because hers has the potential of going beyond her school. Also, this is an opportunity for somebody outside the school to see you in action. This is another opportunity. So if there are district people that can come in that you know can make a difference in you, then by all means, you present your plan well and you ask them if they would consider being a part of your presentation as well. You're looking at opportunities for needed and relevant staff development based on your gap analysis. You are looking at specific activities needed to be considered for implementation to improve identified areas of need, weakness based on your gap analysis, and you're looking at specific programs if applicable. Again, you can't just beat around the bush here. You've got to be specific with things. Dr. Revis, anything you'd like to say there?
Well, this is very similar to the growth plan you did for the AAPTEL, except we're not researching programs. Now, when it says specific programs, it may be that your school does not have a strong mentoring program.
Right, that's what I'm talking about, yes.
Yeah. It's not like prepackaged programs. It's,
right.
It would be a program that would be developed at the school level. A lot of you talked about in your work with the gap analysis that teachers did not have much say in the hiring process. So you're talking there, you would put that down as talking about a way to increase a methodical way that you're going to increase that teacher input on the hiring process or budgeting or what have you.
Right. But you know, Dr. Revis, I agree with you, but there are some I call it, I don't mean this in bad, like canned programs out there now to assist with staff development models. So those kinds of programs you could consider if you're looking at a programmatic model to use, if that is you deem that to be an area of weakness in your school or an area that needs improvement. So there may be some things, and that may not be the right terminology, but that's the right concept. So
correct, yes.
Okay, narrative support for developing the growth plan. There are 10 areas identified for this growth plan that will require an analytic narrative prior to developing the growth plan. The narrative work is a combination of your research, your survey results, your observations, your interviews, your walkthroughs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Everything that you've done in task 1 and 2. Each of these areas must be thoroughly addressed. And this is a great time that you would include the assistance of your established PLC. And again, there are 10 of them. The first one, a vision for positive school improvement. Now, you should really have, by this time, you should have, your thumb should be on the pulse of the school based on what you have learned from all the work that you've done, your observations, your research. Your thumb should be on, and you should be really beginning to see and vision some things yourself about what this looks like. So one of the things that you can do there in your narrative work and look at, what does our school say about what is the vision of our school? There's an opportunity down the road to actually revisit the vision of the school. You can actually look at that right now if the vision and the mission of your school doesn't align with what you've already seen. This is a good time to start. Consider work that has already been completed by the school improvement team. When you look at it, is what they're saying, is it actually happening? Or are you is it kind of stagnant? What do the teachers feel? The teachers, when you got your results back, when you've talked with them, and you're a teacher there too, so what does that look like? Look at your existing vision and mission statements. Consider all results from your surveys, observations, and interviews. Consider your most recent teacher working conditions survey or whatever is applicable. And then consider anything else your team and you deem appropriate to be used. But you're talking about, after all you've done, you know, what is the vision for a positive school improvement? This is the goal that you and your team are setting, proposing and setting for your school now. You want to move forward, and you may say, well, we do this. What can you do better? There's always things that we can do better. You know, don't ever settle for this is where we are and we've arrived. There should always be opportunities. Even if things are not real bad, it could be better. Then documentation to support identified need. Whatever you and your team have decided, this is the identified need or needs. This should be the results of all the work you've done with task 1 and 2. Your research, the data that you've collected from everything that you did in task 2, all of that should clearly identify what that identified need or those needs are. And you're going to restate some things in there. And even when you do your narrative work here, you may be referring back to some of the research that you've done, some of the, you know, what the research says, and then what you've actually found. You may have to tie some of that back into there to get your point across, and that's perfectly okay. List of strategic indicators of success. Your team and you will include specific strategies that will indicate how you will be successful with the plan that you're going to implementing. Again, very specific. It says specific short-term and long-term goals and objectives. You can put midterm in there as well. That's okay. What can you do now? What can you do a little bit down the road? And what along the way? What is something that may have to be done down the road? Now, again, Sri and I talked about this. We said that it's late in the year. Chances are you're not going to get a chance to do a whole lot of this year. So I would, if there's something that you can address, then by all means, take the time to address it. If it's going to make a difference in student achievement this year, or you have an opportunity, then do it. But more or less, you're proposing something that hopefully that can be planned for, and implementation can begin in the fall of the year when school starts back. This, you know, you go in there with that kind of language as well, because principals have got so much on their hands right now. Teachers have got so much on their hands. They may say, I can't take another thing right now. So you be prepared to say, you know, these are some things now, but we're proposing this, hopefully where we can, school improvement team can look at this and we can move forward with this maybe beginning in the fall of the year. Dr. Revis, anything at this point?
Yeah, one idea that I have, just because so many of my students mentioned that teachers didn't have a lot of input on the hiring process. A short-term goal could be, because most principals do hiring in the spring and summer, is that's a short-term goal. If you could see if some kind of organized way, or if the principal would be amenable to coming up with some type of way to engage your teachers in that hiring process. But if you're talking professional development or anything like that, that's all going to have to be next year.
Right.
I mean, let's just face it.
Right. And then the activities to address identified goals and objectives. Again, what are you proposing to do to address those short-term and those long-term goals, midterm goals that you've identified? You need to be specific. What, and again, Tawanda, you got a question?
So I wanted to say, so go back to the professional developments that she just spoke to. So could a short-term goal be to identify professional development opportunities that for next year? Because you can kind of identify them. Could that be a short-term goal? Like for us, we can go into a portal and they're all there listed. We could actually sign up. They may not take place until next year, but could it be that we've signed up and identified those professional developments? Could that be used as a short-term goal?
Right, and I would be specific with some of those PDs based on what you know from what you've done in task 2, Tawanda.
Okay.
You know, because don't let it just be generic. Wouldn't you say so, Dr. Revis, be a little more specific in that area?
Right. Or I guess I was kind of thinking of it from the perspective of let's at least do a needs assessment to see which types of professional
Right.
development that we need and giving teachers some input. You know, I'll be honest with you. One of the things I did in my job at the district level was providing professional development for the district, and we had district professional development days. It is very difficult when you're trying to do district initiatives or school initiatives to differentiate or individualize professional development. It's just hard. So we tried to think of different tiers of professional development as well. So I think just giving teachers a say in their professional development,
Right.
it's a short-term goal. But then you want to get as specific as you can as well.
Right. Okay. And then a plan to communicate progress with the vital stakeholders. And you know, again, you know who they are. Who will you be communicating this plan with, and how will you get the information out to them? Specific timeline of activities. When will you propose to do the various activities outlined in your growth plan to improve teacher empowerment and leadership? Be specific with those times. How do you propose to sell your product to the various stakeholders involved? And again, this is where you involve your team. Your team can help you with suggestions as well. And then specific roles and responsibilities. Who's going to do what, and what are they going to do? And finally, the formative and summative assessments. And remember that these are all completely for and with adults. Dr. Revis, would you like to talk about those 2 assessments?
Yes, for the formative assessments, remember that's about how will we know that adults are doing what they're supposed to be doing in this plan with fidelity. So I would think that you would, if part of your plan is professional development, then you would want to know, is that professional development being translated into practice in the classrooms? And the only way to do that is through those walkthroughs, instructional rounds, whatever you may call them. And then the summative assessments is how will you know what your staff is doing is working? So that would be something in the form of you're going to resurvey maybe your staff next year, or to see if teacher empowerment and leadership, if those 5 areas have improved that we researched. You can always talk about a survey, so resurveying your teachers.
Right. And then the purpose of the growth plan. When you begin your narrative work, provide a narrative of the purpose of the growth plan or your action plan. And I would think in this that you would talk about the purpose of this particular growth plan is blah, 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 blah. And then you may want to just go back and tie in, you know, what does the research say? You know, according to Linda Darling Hammond, you know, a good growth plan or good professional development plan, and then you finish the statement. So I would think that you would want to tie in, you know, in there somewhere in your narrative work, what the research says as well. Again, you're going to use the same graphic organizer template for this growth plan that you use to complete your action plan in the AAPTEL. The headings, I'm going to go to that in just a second. And then your presentation. Once the growth plan has been finally approved by Dr. Revis and me, you're going to schedule a meeting to present it to your administration and as many others as you possibly can. And this is what you will provide: artifacts of proof that you have presented. This will include at a minimum a picture of you presenting. Now, it's highly recommended that you include a recorded video, and I'm going to tell you, in the prompt for your evaluator, it actually says that there is a recorded presentation. So I honestly that could count against you if you don't have it. So I would highly recommend that you have it, wouldn't you, Dr. Revis?
Yes, and that's just because it's right there in black and white,
Right,
and that
right,
evaluator is going to look for that. And again, it can be a virtual presentation that you've recorded.
right. And again, when you present professionally, and if you use PowerPoint, make sure that you show us the frames of your PowerPoint presentation in your as an artifact. And then finally, a narrative reflection of the presentation with quotes from your administration staff. You want feedback from them, and we'd like to see, this is what the administration says, this is what, kind of what direction are you going to go in, and what did they have to say about things.
And I believe that's also very specific in the rubric. So don't forget that reflection part.
Right, very specific it is. I wanted to pull this up to Dr. Revis while we were here, because this is the helpful hints document, and I wanted to bring this down. And just to remind you that, and this is again, this is the same template that you're going to use, and you see laying it out, and then this lays it out for you. So this graphic organizer will be used again. Are there any questions about task 3, what's required? Now, we did say this. We realized that a lot of you are still on spring break or will be on spring break, and that there may not be anybody at the school for you to present to. Task 3 is still due this coming Sunday night at the latest. However, if there is nobody there for you to present to, you need to put a disclaimer in there, letting Dr. Revis and me know that, it should be complete to the point, ready for your presentation. And you let us know that your presentation is planned and when it's planned for next week. And then you'll turn around and resubmit it with that proof once that has been done early next week, if that is your case. However, we encourage you, if your people are going to be there, go ahead and get this done if at all possible. But if you're pushed with the time and you can't get the presentation, this is for all of you. We are allowing you through next Tuesday at this point to get your presentation over with, okay? Dr. Revis, you okay with that?
Yes, most definitely. And even though you may not have staff in the building this week, you can go ahead and develop your presentation slides and everything you're going to do, so that all you're actually waiting on is that presentation that you're going to be recording.
And you could actually go ahead and put that in your work that you submit to us by Sunday. This is what you're going to present.
Mm-hmm.
And then all you've got to do is just show us the actual presentation, or of the actual presentation, once that happens. Dr. Revis, I'm going to get ready for task 4, but would you talk to them about reminders of task case study 2 that is due this week?
Okay, so this is our last Zoom session for the semester, and this one is about case study 2. And it's going to focus on some of the discussion and research that you have done about teacher evaluation. And you're going to do, the format is the very same that we use in case study 1. You will come prepared. I think there are 4 questions that you will come prepared to answer. And no, there are only 3, I'm sorry. And make sure you're pulling in information and research from your coursework. It could be anything you've researched in your AAPTEL. It can be any of the readings that are posted in your Blackboard. But, you need to say, well, you don't need to just say, well, I think da, 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 da. you can say, I think, because Darling Hammond says that in order to do da da da, state those authors, state your research, or it could be other research that you want to bring in. But this one is about teacher evaluation, and so it's again a scenario with a principal and how she's handling this topic within her school. So go back and think about this in relationship to the work you've done in the AAPTEL and the readings and research that you've done. And so you're going to do that and have your case study, a Zoom, and then you've got a 2-part reflection that you need to write. And it's the same format as in the case study 1. One part is an overview of the relevant points. You're not regurgitating and retelling the case study. You're only talking about those salient points from the case study. And then the second part is just your reflective summary of the takeaways from your scholarly discussion.
Okay. Okay. Any questions about the case study? Okay. Now let's move on. Okay. And finally, task 4. Remember in the AAPTEL task 5 that you had to do 12 of the 21 required competencies for this semester. There's 21 every semester that you're in this program. And you did 12 of them. 8 of them were required and you chose 4. That means out of the 21 that there are 9 competencies that have not been addressed. Now, you can say, well, I did 13 in the app, so it doesn't matter. You still must do 9 competencies for the AAPTEL. The evaluator doesn't know that you did 13 for the app, so they're going to look for 9 competencies. So you must complete 9 competencies, and even if you did 13 in the app, so go back and do another one again. Repeat something in the, or either pull it from the app so and put it in the AAPTEL, whatever you need to do. But you're going to address those 9 just like you did with the AAPTEL. Now, remembering that there's a full purpose for reflecting on these competencies. One of them, you must clearly show with each of the 9 competencies evidence of something narratively that you've done. We're not looking for artifacts, we're looking for narrative work. You've got to talk about something that you've done in the work that you've done this semester with the AAPTEL, and you could go back and refer to the AAPTEL if you need to. But specifically work that you've done with that competency. And then secondly, a twofold thing. It must clearly show that competency was met during your clinical internship in some form or fashion. So make sure that when Dr. Revis and I look at it, that they're delineated. Make sure your evaluator has no question that you, and I would say in my coursework, blah, 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 in my clinical experience, blah, blah, blah. That way, that's as plain as the nose on my face if you do that. So I would make it very, very, very clear so that there would be no questions about that at all. And again, I put this here on purpose because they're going to make sure that you've done all of that to be considered proficient. Okay, Jonathan?
Yes, the 9 competencies, are there particular ones that we need to, or are we choosing all of those 9?
There are 9 left and you got to do all 9 of those.
So just the remaining 9, got it.
The remaining 9, that's it, yes.
Okay.
And again, let me reiterate, make sure that for each of those competencies, you're reflecting on something from your coursework, your AAPTEL or AAPTEL. Try to pull it from the AAPTEL if you can. And you are reflecting on something from your clinical work. Both have to be there. Any questions on that? Guys, I said before, and I think I jinxed some people. I said, this one's an easy one. You're just reflecting on work you've already done. But it seemed to, I think some of you made it a little more difficult than you needed to make it. You're just reflecting on your coursework or your clinical. But you not or, and you got to do both. I'm sorry.
So for task 4, those last 9, in the explanations, we're talking about both clinical and coursework for each one, right?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
And that's Tracy, right?
Yes, it is.
Tracy, make sure, like we said, that you clearly delineate if you have to say coursework, you have to say clinical experience. Make sure that they're clearly stated there so that there's no question when your evaluator gets to that point.
Yes, sir.
I would even put them in 2 separate paragraphs.
I would too. I would too. I wouldn't have any doubts at all.
Guys, we're almost done.
We're almost there, and I'm going to go over the upcoming. Dr. Revis, let's talk about. I'll go with the first one. Your task stream responsibilities, and again, I've put everything in this, or we have everything in this agenda that pretty much reflects the rest of the semester. Okay, we're guiding you for the rest of the semester. Your task stream responsibilities, and you'll be able to start focusing on those pretty much after this week. You'll have to. But the School of Ed dispositions, that's in task stream, and I misspelled evaluation. This is something some have already done, but you can go ahead and do that. There's the radio bullets in there. You only have to do narrative work if you feel that you exceed expectations in there. If you think that, if you meet expectations, then you're good to go. And most of you will meet expectations. Some of you may say, well, I need some help in that. And you may say that I haven't met those expectations yet. If you say I exceed expectations, then what you will have to do is provide evidence of how and why you exceed expectations in that area. But this is something that you can go ahead and knock out. It doesn't take long to do this at all. After that, after you get through with task 4 of the AAPTEL, then you can complete your competency analysis. Competency analysis, again, is a personal reflection, and it has radio bullets there as well, and you just simply click on that. No narrative work. You know why? You've already done all the narrative work with the 21 competencies that you will have completed with the AAPTEL and the AAPTEL. So there's no sense in repeating what you've done. So all you've got to do is personally evaluate yourself with the analysis of the competencies at that time. And that goes in for evaluation as well. And then after that, Dr. Revis, talk about the competency folio.
Okay. Now, don't confuse the competency analysis with the competency folio. You have already been working in the competency folio. You've already knocked out 12 of those artifacts. So the analysis is just a quick self-assessment. Okay. Radio buttons, click it, you're done. But the remaining 9 competencies, hopefully that you're going to write about in task 4, then you're going to transfer those with artifacts into your competency folio. So the description doesn't have to be as elaborate, but you must have the artifact. And you guys did a great job on that and had this down pat mid-semester. So I suspect you'll fly through this one with no problems whatsoever.
I do too, Dr. Revis. And they need to remember that if you're in Dr. Revis's class, competency folio goes to me. If you're in my class, competency folio goes to Dr. Revis.
And then the last thing, which is found in your competency folio, is you will upload your internship log for the semester. You have to have a minimum of 80 hours. Let me share with you a couple of common mistakes. At the end of your log, make sure you total your hours. At the end of the log, there's a place for your mentor, clinical mentor, or clinical supervisor to sign off. Make sure you get that signature. We reject it if you've not got the signature. Now, there is a place to put your internship logs in your DRF Taskstream folio. Don't do it there. Do it within your competency folio. At the very bottom, after all your 21 competencies are listed, at the very bottom, there's a place for you to submit your semester internship logs.
For review only, not for evaluation.
Right.
Evaluation
And
doesn't come until the very end of your program when you put it all together.
right. And of course, you will click, if you're in my class, you're going to request review from Dr. Stedman and vice versa. But we're going to review that. We go in and review it in that competency folio, just like we review your remaining 9 competencies.
Okay.
I love the way you've got these weeks color coded, Dr. Stedman.
Yeah, well, I found out it does help. Jonathan has his hand raised.
I guess I'm gonna be that student today.
You're not.
The competency, the internship law, did we have to have all the different competencies in there, or was, as long as we listed a competency for that, it was fine?
Right. No, you don't have to. That's for you. All we need are the dates, what you did, and how much time that you put into it. That's all we need. The rest of it is for your records only.
Second question, do you want me to combine, because I had to use multiple pages because I couldn't do big hours per day. Do you want me to combine the hours from page 1 on page 2 and show you the overall total, or just the total per page?
I like to see overall total, Jonathan.
Okay.
Right.
And make sure, let me just say this, guys. You're in a graduate program. There are some people who just handwrite this, and we'll accept it, no problem. But it makes a world of difference. If you want to use this as an artifact to show a prospective employer some of the clinical experiences you have, it makes a big difference if it's typed up. And you must use the form that we provide to you.
Dr.
Okay.
Revis, I have to confess, I don't accept handwritten. I sent it back. I just didn't tell you that.
Well, I don't think it looks professional.
Let's just say we're not accepting handwritten.
I'm with you, Dr. Stedman.
So we're not accepting any handwritten. You go back and you type it in on the forms and give it that professional look. Okay.
I
and
agree.
if it comes to us otherwise, we're going to send it back and say, when you get it, put it on the form or type it on the form, then we'll receive it. I just want it to look good. I want you to look good. Okay. These upcoming responsibilities, and if you notice, this is this week, the fuchsia, that is this week, what is due. And then in the aqua blue, that's next week, what is due. So this should help you. Okay. You're bringing it to a closure. Remember, after this coming week, task 3, there are no more peer reviews. Task 4 does not require peer review. However, when you turn task 3 in for final evaluation, guess what you're turning in for final evaluation as well? Task 4 at the same time. I've put a drop date right here for your task stream work that we've just talked about. Sunday, April 17th, week 14. I'm going to tell you why. You've got 10 weeks this summer, 11 weeks maybe, but it's about 10 and maybe 10 weeks to get 2 complete evidences done like you've done this semester with the APTEL and the AAPTEL. A lot of work. That's why week 15, we're doing a town hall on that Monday. Dr. Lamb will introduce 603 to you. On that Tuesday, Dr. Revis and I are actually going to go over some of the things that you can go ahead and get started with before summer starts so that you can get ahead of the game and not have to struggle all summer. I've got some stuff built in there. I'm actually going to pull together some things in addition to that that's going to help you tremendously get started so that you can get ahead of the game. And whoever gets you in 603, if you do what we asked you to do, they're going to say, wow. And I would advise you to take advantage of what we're going to be offering you for week 15. We will not meet next week. We're not coming online at all next Tuesday. If you need us, you can reach out to us. However, this is an opportune time for you to take advantage of having that time and getting a lot of work done. You got a lot due that week. So we're giving you that time to not to have to come online with us. But if you need us individually, you reach out to us and, we're there for you. But we're not going to take your time, and we're going to give you that time next week so that you can hopefully get a lot done.
Dr. Stedman, may I reiterate your Taskstream submission? Remember, before you upload your AAPTEL, there are several steps that you must go through. Number one, we will tell you when you're ready to put it all together, all 4 tasks together, and you will send it to us for a review. And that's just for us to look over it and make sure we don't see any glaring errors before you submit it to turn it in. Okay? So you send it to us to look over for review. We tell you when it's ready to go to turn it in. And then we tell you when it's ready for final submission. So don't jump any of those steps. If you go to turn it in before we tell you to, you've got one shot at turn it in, and that's it. So make sure that you follow that same process that we followed when we turned in the APTEL. Do we have those directions listed there?
That's what I was looking for. I can't remember if I'm going to look in here and see. If not, then I can make sure that they're in there. We can go back and put them in there.
I don't see them in there. Let's look.
We will take that AAPTEL helpful hints. Let me go to. Let me see if it's under there. Directions and process for submitting at APTEL final evidence. What I'll do is I will go ahead, Dr. Revis and I will take this same document and we will place it under the AAPTEL so that you will have it as well. It's the same process. We'll just name it the AAPTEL, okay? And you follow the very same identical process.
And let's remind them, Dr. Stedman, let's remind them where they turn in that combined tasks 1 through 4.
Okay. There's this document, remember? But we're going to go back, and Dr. Revis, to help me remember, we're going to go back and just rename the same thing, the AAPTEL, and we're going to put it under the AAPTEL so that they'll have it. Let me see. The AAPTEL task. Okay. The AAPTEL.
Is it completed peer review?
Yeah. The AAPTEL task for review.
Okay.
And if AAPTEL task for review, and if you will look,
Right
AAPTEL
there.
tasks 1 through 4 for instructor review, this is where you send it after you've combined it. Just like you sent task 4, task 3, or whatever, except remember task 4 is for Dr. Revis and me only. This is going to be for Dr. Revis and me only. Okay. And this is where we tell you you need to fix something or either you're good to go. And what we'll say the next step is that you submit it to the Turnitin process. And once it's cleared there, we'll say you're ready to submit for evaluation in Taskstream. Okay. Okay, are there any questions at this point? I know we've given you a lot, but I felt like all of you were you're at such different places that it was important that we go ahead and put it out there so that we held nobody back from, wherever you are in the process of things.
That last Zoom meeting after this case study, we have one more, correct?
No, you don't have any more Zoom meetings after that. That's it.
Okay, my question is, I didn't get to lead the Zoom session.
Okay, you're okay.
Okay.
You're okay. You're okay. Sometimes there's not enough opportunities to do that, but you just make sure when you get to 603, well, I can tell you in 603, you will definitely have opportunities. But you know what, it's not your fault, so don't worry about it.
So task 3, so we need to show that we met with our team and then talk about use the 10 headings and talk about what we met, all of the information, all the data, not what we've done and what we decided. Fill out the chart and then do a narrative about our presentation.
Yes. And your
Okay.
team, Cindy, actually, this is where you talk about what you found in test 2, because you've identified what you consider the need or the needs. And so that's really where you are now. This is where we are, what we're going to do about it. And they're going to help you decide what you're going to do about it.
I'm sorry, is this our PLC team or our administrative team?
No, your PLC team.
Okay.
You're presenting to your administration. Now, some of your administration might be on your PLC, but you've still got to do a full presentation. Okay. Good questions.
Other questions?
I do have a question.
Hey, Jasmine.
Sorry it's so dark. Charlotte's sleeping. I have a question. When you said our need or needs, so one of my when I got the results back from my survey, they were tied, basically like 12 agreed, 12 disagreed. And I still put that as an area of need because I felt like, I don't know, I felt like I kind of messed up by not making the survey anonymous. And one of the teachers told me that, like, I wonder if I would have put it as anonymous, where you couldn't see the responses. Like, I could see everyone's responses and all the other teachers could see everyone else's responses. So I still put that as a pressing need. Should I still, because I heard you say need or needs, meaning multiple, is it okay if I just erase that part and just say there's only one pressing need?
You can have only one pressing need, but I remember we talked about, you did 2 things with task 1 and task 2. You looked at teacher leadership inside the classroom and you looked at teacher outside. So that's why I said that there may be needs in both of those areas, and that your plan of action should address both of those, those areas.
Okay. All right.
Now, I will say this, if you identify at the end of task 2, when you do your little summary, if you identify 3 areas of need, I would expect to see those addressed in the growth plan.
I would too.
Okay.
And I will
Okay.
tell you, I have seen evaluators go back and say, in your growth plan did not reflect what you said in task 2. So make sure that whatever you say, that you fully put the plan together based on what you've said in task 2. Okay.
Based on those pressing needs.
Yes.
Okay.
Does that help, Jasmine?
It does.
Okay.
Dr. Stedman, I had a question too, because I
Sure.
think that's where I was confused. Because I was looking at the helpful hints document, and in there, they're really relating to cooperative learning. And so that's, I
Right.
guess, more inside the classroom. So I was leading my task 3 to things inside the classroom. So it wasn't necessarily from the teacher survey, but my walkthroughs, I guess.
Right.
And that's okay. I think
Yeah,
that's
it
why.
is. Yeah, that particular example, that was just an example of a student's work. They only focused on one need, and that was cooperative learning. And there's nothing wrong with that. However, just make sure that you have not identified needs in task 2 that you have not addressed in task 3.
Okay, thank you.
And it's okay to have multiple. It's okay to have multiple. Your plan can have multiple areas that you're looking at.
And I would just say, remember, this growth plan is a teacher empowerment and leadership growth plan.
Right.
So make sure you're addressing all those 5 areas that you did your survey on and you did your research on.
Right.
Dr. Stedman,
Yes.
I'm sorry, go ahead. I talked already.
No, I did too. Go ahead. I'm gonna
Okay.
listen. You might ask what I was gonna ask.
Okay. In my task 3 with the survey, I noticed, I think I mentioned 3 areas that needed to be addressed. One was teacher leadership. And then I think it was like the budget and that stuff. But when I did my walkthroughs, I noticed classroom management was an issue. So I know I can link the teacher leadership section and classroom management together, because that would be leadership in the classroom and leadership outside with regards to administration. But I didn't think I would add the information about teachers being involved in a budget, etc. Would that be a problem if I left that out with connecting the rest of that?
I would think, as long as you've addressed enough things, you can address everything sometime. But as long as you've addressed some of the needs inside and outside the classroom, I would think so. Wouldn't you, Dr. Ravis?
Yes, and you know, when your PLC may prioritize the needs. You know, once again, a hallmark of a poor performing school is they try to spread themselves too thinly and do too much.
Right.
So it's okay to prioritize your needs. You can say these are my gaps, but the PLC prioritize the need.
That's what we did today. So that's why I was asking that.
Okay,
Yes.
you're doing the right thing then.
Okay.
Good. Tracy, do you have another question?
Actually,
Okay,
I did.
I thought you. Okay, was it?
It's
Jasmine?
Jasmine.
Okay, hey Jasmine.
Yep. I think I need to turn my paper into you again.
Okay, that's okay. I can
Okay.
look at it again for you. That's okay.
Okay.
Just
So I guess
send
it
it
wasn't
to,
a question. I was just
just send
telling
it to
you.
me, and then I'll be glad to look at it again. Okay. I'm glad
Okay, thank
I'm
you.
glad you're thinking about it like this. That's good.
I am. Okay.
Guys,
Other questions?
the goal here is for you to, you know, score accomplished on with your evaluator. And I like the process that we use as far as, you know, giving you opportunities to always revise your work.
And I will tell you, as a general rule, it seems like the scoring is much stricter with the AAPTEL than it is with the APSL. So make sure you've dotted every I, crossed every T, that you've, just because you made a 4 before, don't just take that for granted, okay? Because they do seem to be a little, that's my perception, Dr. Revis.
I agree. I think the evaluators raise their level of expectation after your first task. But, guys, you're going to be fine because, we're going to keep working with you until you get it right, unless we feel like you are just refusing to do what we say. I'm not going to argue with you if you want to turn something in that's, maybe going to get rejected. I mean, I can't hold you back. But our goal is to get it, to get you to a 4. That's our goal.
But we're going to tell you, we may not argue with you, but we're going to tell you.
Yeah.
But anyway, other questions?
I have one last thing, and I promise
sure.
I won't ask.
That's okay.
Else. I'm going back to where you said we were uploading, and maybe I can wait, but where you said we were uploading our internship hours. I was just looking on Taskstream, but I don't see that.
Look in your competency folio.
Okay.
And it's at the very bottom, scroll all the way down to the bottom.
Now the form is in, it's in
their handbooks.
Oh yeah, I know where that form is. I just want to
Okay.
know where to upload it.
Okay. Or have you gotten your competency folio uploaded?
Yes, I'm in it. Oh, I see it all the way at the bottom. I see
Okay.
it.
Yeah, okay.
I see it.
You have to scroll all the way down.
Yep.
Okay. Other questions? Yeah.
So there is no
classes Thursday,
no
John.
class.
No.
And no class next week. But guys, if you have questions, we're here.
Right. Okay. Okay, guys. I will upload this and I will get it to you later on tonight. And you can call us if you need us. Okay. And we will see you. We'll send you no, we'll be back before week 14. Right. Week 14 back on Tuesday night. Okay.
Guys, you just got a couple more weeks of grueling work, and then
you're just about there.
Yeah, you're just about there.
We're proud of you. Okay, good night, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.